Hello everyone, this is darkfireslide here with a new video series today. I'm going to call it Impressionism and see how that works. Or maybe Game Impressionism, one of the two. Anyway, this is Etherium, and it's a game that recently came out. It officially released yesterday, though I believe you could have bought it like a week in advance and played it in the multiplayer and in the skirmish before the game actually launched. But what is Etherium? Etherium is a new real-time strategy game made by Tindalos Interactive, and I believe published by Focus Interactive. Focus Interactive, of course, being involved with Eugen Systems, who published and created the Wargame series, which I am very fond of. So this is kind of this is very much a different kind of RTS compared to Wargame if you've ever played it. And Etherium is a really interesting RTS that, in a nutshell, combines a lot of different RTS elements from different games. Especially taking cues from Dawn of War and Company of Heroes, but also some Command & Conquer elements as well, as I'm going to showcase here. One of the main features of the game is, or its modes, which first of all we have a Conquest mode, which is very much like Star Wars Battlefront's Galactic Conquest. You have a competitive or non-competitive multiplayer and a skirmish mode against the AI. And the game is only in 1v1 or 2v2, so if you're looking for big, huge team battles, you're not really going to find them here. So, you know, take that as you will. There is like a ranking system, but I don't know if this is the kind of game you really want to play competitively. Though I will say that this is a very tight RTS. This is definitely done by a studio that knows what it's doing for the most part in terms of RTS. But to begin, I'm going to kind of take a look at the Conquest mode, but I'm not actually going to play the Conquest mode because it's very in-depth and it takes a long time to play. But I am going to first start by showcasing each of the three teams. We've got the Consortium, which is the human faction of the game. They are focused on kind of like a rapid assault kind of play style with mass assaults later on. So definitely focusing on numbers. Numbers of divisions more than anything else, but they have a couple of other options as well. We have the Intar, which are kind of your, get the most punch out of your units kind of team, because they have the ability to raise their unit veterancy as time passes. So, very much by late game, their units are going to be very effective. And lastly, we have the Vectide Empire, which is a very interesting team that combines good infantry, I would say, with some interesting options such as a gunship and the ability to have force fields on most of your units and buildings, which is definitely unique to the team. So I'm gonna hop into the Galactic Conquest, but I'm not actually gonna like play it, just to kind of showcase it. So here we go. I'm gonna start. Each team gets its kind of own description and a little bit of lore if you're interested in that, but it's not enough to be like substantial or anything like that. Nothing like what StarCraft has elaborated on. I'm going to skip through these because I do find the Vectide faction to be one of the more interesting ones in the game. Oh, I accidentally launched in the tutorial because I'm an idiot. Right. That's something you have to uncheck every time you play, and that's actually kind of a point of irritation for me. You have to turn off the tutorial every time you play for some reason. So we're just going to skip through that again. Not a big deal. Tells us we're in the laying phase. Right, so here we are in the Galactic Conquest mode, and what we need to know about this basically is it's functionally similar but not identical to Star Wars Battlefront's Galactic Conquest, if you ever played that back in the day. And basically how it works is the first team to get to 12 what are called victory points wins the game. As we can see here, we have victory points. And victory points are earned by having, I believe, Etherium, which is the resource of the game and the game's namesake. Number of technology points, each faction, well, it's weird how that works. But and also there are these monuments that you can build that raise your victory points as well. So, each, as you can see, you start out with a home planet, and you can go and try to expand to other planets. Each sector on a given planet is going to give you different bonuses. I don't know if these are randomized or not, but if they are, then that would be really good. Actually, yeah, these are randomized. So these bonuses that these, these are going to be different every time you play. So that actually does add quite a bit of replayability to each team, I would say. As we can see here, we have a antique vessel on each of these. Which means that every time we take one of these, we're going to get an extra technology point per round, which is important because in the Conquest mode, you don't start out with your whole tech tree unlocked. You start out with Tech 1 and, like, your Tech 2 rocket turret, at least for the Vectide. And to unlock other units, you need to have technology points. Each tier of technology, and this is basically you get this entire tree when you're playing the skirmish mode, so, and the tiers are exactly the same in that as well. But in each of these trees, it's going to take the amount of points equal to the tier to unlock it. So these tier 2 units are going to take 2 points to unlock, tier 3, 3 points, so on. So, there's kind of an interesting metagame there that you can, fiddle with. Do you want to start out with normal tanks? Would you rather have anti-personnel infantry or anti-tank infantry? Or would you rather have, your special unit for your faction? Just things to consider, which are kind of interesting. But yeah, basically how it works is we would select this fleet here, and you could build more of them as time passes, but you would basically select this fleet, and then you would attack this sector. I don't think... Yeah, if it's not contested, if the territory is neutral, then you can just take it for free, basically. Though another faction might come in and try to stop us if we did that. There is fleet-to-fleet combat, but it's not actually done. It's like... It's basically, you tell your fleet to attack the other fleet, and they do a turn of damage to each other, and it's basically whoever fires the first shot wins. So it's not really, like, that interesting, unfortunately. But yeah, and you basically just do that until you have enough points to win the game. Now, what's interesting is, when you're gathering Etherium, these phases down here are interesting because, yeah, as we can see here, during the laying phase, Etherium spheres may appear randomly in the war zones. So that means when we're actually fighting on the ground, we're going to have more Etherium. Gestation period is reasonably uneventful, and then during the last period, the Etherium spheres hatch out during the hatching phase, surprise, and some spheres cannot be used in the war zones. So, by the late game, we're running low on Etherium, which the Etherium itself is harvested by building basically an extractor around the eggs of these 1,000-year-old extra-dimensional beings that come in and lay eggs all over the place. They appear to be benign in most instances, but by harvesting their eggs, you get the Etherium resource. It's kind of strange, but that's their explanation for the resources. But yeah, so there's a lot of replayability in this mode and a lot of fun that you can have if you're into this kind of thing. A lot of people complain that, oh, you just end up playing a bunch of matches that you wouldn't have to play, and it's like, well, on the other hand, you also have this interesting technology metagame going on, and, a couple of the features in the game actually work a lot better in this mode than they do in the skirmish mode and in the competitive mode, as I'm going to showcase. So we're going to quit the Conquest, and I'm going to take us into the skirmish real quick. Let's head into the skirmish. Who plays the Vectides, because they're kind of the team I really like. But right, so in Conquest mode in the campaign, you have 6 planets, and on each of these planets you have 4 maps. So effectively there are 18 1v1 maps and 6 2v2 maps, which is nice. The AI is fairly competent in this game, even if it's only because they are extremely aggressive and are very good at micromanaging their units, at least in terms of keeping them alive anyway. We're going to set it to easy because I'm not that great at this game yet. But I played enough RTS to kind of understand like how the metagame unfolds a little bit. So, in addition to the normal map setup, which I'll explain once we actually get into the game, we have the weather and we have secondary factions. The weather is just going to do basically random shit throughout the match. And, the sandstorm sets up a random sandstorm on the map, deals damage, and stops units from moving. And that it's not that bad. And what I was mentioning earlier about how this is more interesting in the campaign mode than it is in the skirmish. In skirmish, it's just downright annoying and RNG to have these events happen, I would say. Versus the campaign, where I think that's really part of the experience, is having to deal with these hardships to kind of overcome. But in the skirmish mode, it's just irritating, I find, for the most part. And the same thing goes for the secondary factions. Basically, how the secondary factions work is you build a building of a certain type, depending on the faction, and then you convert that building into another building to convert them to your side slowly over time. Which sounds really interesting. You get a bunch of free units out of it, of varying quality, as I've found in my experience. for doing this. And in the campaign, it's great because in those early missions where you don't have any units really, getting that extra secondary faction help can be extremely useful. But in this, it just the neutral parties just kind of halt progress and prevent you from building your macro the way you might want to. So when I play the skirmishes, I like to turn both of these off. But in the campaign, in the conquest mode, I definitely think that these are part of the experience. Of course, I do kind of have a commentary criticism on the actual weather effects themselves. It seems a bit like there's a split kind of in the weather, because some of the weather just randomly hits parts of the map, which if you're playing competitively is kind of bullshit. You have this big army, you're about to win, and then you get hit by a tornado randomly, and you lose all your units, and then your enemy just bowls you over, and it's really, or even best case scenario, you come back from that, but it takes much longer than it would have. So in terms of competitive play, this doesn't need to be here. It detracts more from the experience than it does add to it, I would say. But thankfully, at least in skirmishes, there's the option to turn it off, which makes it really nice. But some of them only affect certain spots, whereas one of the ones I think is more interesting and would actually not completely break competitive play is the Hurricane one on Resurgence, this planet. Hurricanes stop you from deploying new units in the area because they have to deploy from an orbital strike ship. So the Hurricane makes it impossible for those to land correctly. So during the Hurricane, you can't actually deploy new units, which is I think just it's definitely not game breaking completely, because if you needed to deploy units anyway, you might have already been in a losing position, and that actually might tip the edge one way or the other, but it isn't completely game breaking. Now it does destroy air units, which can be pretty shitty, but the air units in this game aren't that great anyway. In fact, they almost feel kind of tacked on. But again, I'll show that in the actual skirmish here. So I'm just gonna go with Serenade and do the first map on Serenade, Sinus Meridiani. Meridiani, there we go. That got it the third time. And we're going to turn off weather and the second faction, play on easy against the Consortium, and start. Hopefully it doesn't crash. So at the start of every game we get this cool animation of a ship deploying, dropping down. It's kind of choppy, but that might just be because I'm recording. Upon release, this game was really, really poorly optimized. But they seem to have addressed most of it. Though I've tried to record this 3 times, and 3 times they've crashed. This time it has not crashed yet. I'm pretty thankful for that, but unfortunately I'm going to keep my recording pretty short because of that. So just be wary that it is still technically a bit of a mess. Right, so here's Etherium. Here's how we play. The map is divided into sectors. This is very reminiscent of Company of Heroes, for those of you who have played that game. And more or less how the game plays is you need to go out and you need to capture these sectors, and by capturing these sectors, you get another outpost on those individual sectors. So, and from there you can build units, buildings, and things of that nature. Over here on the right, we can see we have a, the unit interface, and I would say it's kind of it's an interesting unit interface, and I don't mean that in the interesting in a bad way necessarily, but it is definitely I think it could be streamlined a little bit. Now playing as the Vectides, one of our advantages is that we get 4 turrets at each of our outposts in each sector, instead of the standard 3. So definitely a defensive advantage in the early game to help prevent against rushes, which the AI tends to do quite frequently. I would say the AI, like I said, the AI is pretty aggressive, but for the most part isn't really that intelligent. So, and okay, that's interesting. My key bindings seem to have gotten reset, so my scrolling isn't working as well as it might have. So this is definitely going to be an interesting game. Gonna have to rely on the mini map for the most part. Okay, we're gonna back off there. Let's see. At our home base, we're gonna build this life cell storage building, which is gonna allow us to add more units to our divisions. So basically, the basic form of the game here is that each unit you build is actually a division of units, much like a squad in Company of Heroes or Dawn of War. But it's supposed to represent like larger scale combat because they're 10 or 12 units in each instead of 5 or 6. Big whoop. But as you can see here, we've only got 3 we can actually build right now, so we need to build a logistics center building, which will allow us to build a lot more units, which we're going to need if we want to advance. So at each of these new outposts we build, we can build a new building. So to actually, it has that same capture the map metagame that Company of Heroes has, for sure. Take it or leave it if you appreciate that sort of gameplay. But for the most part, the AI is just going to pepper us with light assaults until, hopefully we wear down. On the harder AI, on normal, the AI does do more, but I'm mostly playing on this just to kind of showcase the mechanics while hopefully not getting my ass kicked. Too hard anyway. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm pretty sure we'll win this one. The basic formula I found for the Vectide, who I have been focusing on to make sure I've been good enough for this, is to kind of, you build out and then you build up a bunch of turrets really quickly to kind of secure your new territory. And from there you just kind of, cultivate your empire, so to speak. One thing I will say about this team is their units definitely seem to be, I guess, weaker than normal. But one thing I wanted to mention is how you actually capture territory. You have to build a comms infantry squad in order to capture sectors. So you can't just take a unit and capture the entire map. You have to take these comms infantry units, and then you right-click on these points, and then they start building a actual like defensible position and stuff. So just something to it's an interesting thing because you have to actually like pay to expand, whereas in games like Company of Heroes it can completely snowball if you're slow. And I mean, it's not like it's easy to take points because all buildings, when they're building, are much harder to kill. So I think we're gonna build a actually no, we're gonna wait for this to finish, then we're gonna build some turrets on it. So in this sector we can see we have the here's one of the Etherium eggs. And how that works is we basically need to get our outpost up, and then you pay another 100 Etherium to actually get a refinery on it to start producing more resources. Okay, so they're building some rocket troopers, which are going to be annoying to say the least, but we'll deal with them. We got them to come out of the open. And we're going to build a couple of anti-personnel turrets. Not too close to the forest, of course. So as you can see, the AI is quite aggressive and likes to build a lot of units. We're going to try to retreat that unit, and okay, cool. We managed to retreat the Can we deploy them? Yeah, okay, we can redeploy them at base now. Yeah, there's a retreat function which recalls a unit into your orbital base and then allows you to call them back. I think we were able to get the turrets in time in order to stop their initial assault and build that Etherium extractor on that point. And then I think we have we don't have enough to reinforce these guys yet, unfortunately. One of our Vectide Legion units. Okay, there we go. Much like Company of Heroes and Dawn of War, if you reinforce your units, you manage to get them back and have them survive, they are much more, they'll gain more veterancy and stuff, and it's much cheaper to reinforce than it is to replace. So, just something to keep in mind. So the AI is just going to keep keep rushing us here, basically. So I think our next move is definitely first to build a Etherium refinery, and then we're going to build a technology center in order to get our tech up so we can start building some better units. So you can kind of see how there's definitely like a good progression to this game, and it's very interesting to play as opposed to something like, StarCraft, which can it basically evolve sometimes into just, who can outbuild the other one. It's a game very much where map control is, central to the game. Like I said, there's definitely like a comparison to be made between this and Company of Heroes for sure. Right, so our technology center is going to cost 250 to build. Okay, so this is kind of cheeky what they're doing. They're firing from the cover of the bushes over here. Oh, they're just going to murder my, yeah, that's an AP infantry squad. So they're just going to completely murder my units there, and then they're going to become invisible again. So what we need to do is deploy a buggy unit. I was looking at one of the abilities that they have, the Vectide, that they have is that they can, create a shield for their units that puts them in, like cover. Cover doesn't work the way it does in Company of Heroes. It works more like it did in Dawn of War, where it's basically just like the forests and stuff on the map. Like, you step into them, you get into cover. It makes you harder to spot. Things of that nature. Now, they are kind of pushing us back here. So we need to kind of focus on just getting more divisions at this point. Yeah, this could get very messy indeed if we, I think we'll fire an orbital barrage just to get them to... Actually, no, we'll leave them alone. But we will... Okay, so we'll wipe that squad while we're at it. Those rocket infantry are going to be a pain, but we're going to call in a bunch of these mortar infantry because if they're going to abuse that bush like that, we're going to... definitely going to want to, like, do something about it. And I think while we're at it, we're going to build a spaceport. You may have noticed that a blue zone appears every time I click on a unit. Well, you can you can deploy units instantly, but they have to be deployed at a base with a spaceport. Thankfully, your base starts with one of those, but that can sometimes kind of be a mess. Now, they're probably going to take out this turret, and that's really going to be a pain if they do that, but we'll just have to deal with it. Okay, we're going to call... Okay, so now we can actually call in units to this base by building a spaceport there, which is really going to help with our defense effort. These mortar infantry are going to be pretty damn useful, if I do say so myself. We take out those rocket infantry that were harassing us, basically nullifying the price that they paid for them, though a couple of our units were taken out as well in the meantime. But thankfully now we can actually deploy units here, which is, exceptionally useful. I think our next move is we want to deploy a common infantry unit over to this point next to our current base, get some turrets up, stop them from using that flank. Because even if they do, cover doesn't really help that much in this game, even for the Vectides who arguably have, they get a cover bonus, I should say, compared to other factions. Even for them, it's not really all that helpful to have it. All right, so now they have a couple tanks, which is, unfortunate for us. But so what kind of turrets do we have? All right, we still got two of our anti-tank turrets. They do have some rocket troops over there that we're gonna need to take out. It would probably be prudent for us to build an anti-tank infantry unit and get another life cell storage building, which will increase our infantry squad size. Definitely going to be helpful for us, I think. Okay, that does not work the way I thought it did. It said it's like an EMP ability, basically, and I thought it would deploy instantly. It does not. It's a targeted thing, so they can actually dodge it, which is, unfortunate for us, but, we'll do what we can with it. So now our infantry squads have some extra room in them, which we're going to take advantage of, thanks to that building we just built. Well, whatever unit that was just got destroyed, basically. But now that we've got this base up, yeah, they're definitely they're gonna try to be sneaky. Thankfully, we have these mortar infantry, which are, exceptionally helpful in dealing with these early pushes for sure. We're gonna reinforce that unit and get our AP infantry over there. Use the forced march ability. Yeah, so you have a unit hotbar down here, or sorry, a command hotbar down here. And each of these abilities, can we wipe them? Yeah, nice. So wiping an actual division out is very, very, good. It's definitely the kind of thing you want to aim for. It's much like, the comparisons to COH and Dawn of War in this game are basically out of control. But for the most part, let's see, is that an AT? Yeah, I thought I had another AT. So really what we're trying to focus on here is just getting a lot of infantry out to help deal with a lot of these like tanks and stuff that they have, that they keep building. So we can kind of consolidate our position. We'll get another refinery up right here while we're at it, now that we have enough units to really like hold our position. And then we're going to just continue focusing on consolidating these positions. That's my plan anyway. We'll see how well it works in practice, of course. I think we'll actually kind of push a little bit, see what we can find. Yeah, they've got some tanks, but hopefully these 2 squads of anti-tank infantry will be enough to handle it. Yeah, they're doing a good number on them. Looks like they might get away, unfortunately, but that's the way she goes. Another tank division. Well, thankfully we do have, these AT infantry divisions are quite effective at taking them out. Okay, they don't actually have this sector here, which, is, arguably a really bad move on their part. But they do have some anti-personnel turrets, so we're going to back off. Hopefully, nope, they're going to take out my buggy. That sucks, but, I mean, it's just a buggy. It's not, like, that terrible of a loss, but we'll get some more anti-tank turrets up while we're at it. They're being really cheeky with these rocket units, and the AI likes to do that. Like I said, the AI in this game is fairly competent, actually, but I think we wiped them, actually, so that's pretty awesome. At this base here, we're going to build a repair bay, just so our units can actually heal. Basically, every unit in the game is mechanical-ish, even the infantry, so having a repair bay will heal any units that you have. And I think the setup we have just hard counters the units that they've built up to this point. I think we'll build a 3rd AT infantry squad while we're at it, and then after that we'll tech up, for sure. Aw, almost. Valiant effort by our mortars, but alas, their squad managed to escape. So yeah, our next step is going to be to build a a technology center so we can get some better units up. They do have an AP infantry squad now, which is going to do some good damage to our our AT infantry, but the AI, like I said, is pretty capable. They're building to counter the things that I have built, and I think we're going to get another AP turret up while we're at it, just because. Or even just throw up a watchtower so we can see, but nah, I think we'll go with the turret at this point. And we'll throw up a watchtower in this sector. I think that'll work. Let's see. I would use my keyboard, but a lot of these keys are bound to really strange keys. Like reinforce is K, which is never somewhere you're probably going to have your units. I'm not using the control groups either because in a game like this, I'm kind of showcasing like that you don't really need that as badly as you would in other games. So yeah, these units are fully reinforced now, but they're still like heavily damaged. So we're gonna go ahead and utilize the that tank division is just taking a beating. But I mean, that's kind of what they do, I suppose. Thankfully, some of our units are gaining veterancy and becoming better at what they do, which is, fantastic. Do we want some tanks of our own? Not yet. We're gonna build another technology center back here, and then get these units healed up. And then I think our next move is to build a comms infantry unit. Like I said, the AI in this game really just loves to spam units at you, even on the higher difficulties. So you kind of have to play defensively, or just outnumber them and spam them, which, in either case, it sucks kind of having to be like confined to a certain strategy, but that's just the way she goes. So, okay. Hopefully we can take out this armor division now that we've caught them out in the open. Cool. That is awesome. We're going to force march these guys out of there. Keep these 2 divisions here. Move our mortars into position over here. just kind of push them back. Now that we're at Tech 3, we can build some specialized units. But first, we need to actually call back a unit or something. We need a logistics center to build more units. I don't particularly relish the thought of throwing away any of these units, but we might just have to jump the gun on one of these. Yeah, I think we'll throw away this AT infantry squad. I don't know, they're veterancy too, which is just really good. It is kind of frustrating if you kind of supply block yourself, that you can't build a comms infantry squad to go and take more territory. Alright, cool. We're gonna wipe another one of their squads. We're doing pretty well, but yeah, I don't really know if there's a way to call back a unit other than having it die. So I guess we'll just have these units go at it until they drop, basically. Fortunately, we've caught them right as they're trying to set up a base, and we're gonna be able to take it out, I think, which is a pretty hefty loss. Not as much as if they had built buildings on it, of course, but definitely still a loss of time and resources. Hopefully, if we advance these units, we can, yeah, wipe their tanks again. Awesome. Alright, cool. So these anti-personnel turrets are going to be able to take out our units, but hopefully we can do some damage to them as well before my units get killed. Again, I don't relish sacrificing these units, but... Come on, get out of there. Ah, they wiped that squad too. Well, that's okay. Because now we can call in 2 more comm infantry divisions in their stead. Oh, that squad's almost veterancy 3. Good for them. Okay. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned, I haven't really shown yet, is that you can actually throw units into transports, but the usefulness of that, in my opinion, is kind of debatable because it takes so long for the transport to get there in the first place. It costs resources, and, the transports themselves don't move that quickly. I mean, the only advantage this serves is that it moves over the terrain, and that's, the usefulness of that is definitely, debatable, I would say. Right, so now that squad's in there, we're going to build another AT infantry squad, and deploy these, throw another expansion up there. And we're going to turret these out, of course, in case they get any ideas. Which sometimes the AI in this is a little finicky as well. Sometimes they like to get ideas and go around, other times they like to go around or just keep going at the same spot, funneling themselves into bad positions. But in this case, we'll just build a light array of turrets at each juncture here, and then of course we're going to build our much needed logistics center to get a couple more divisions under our belt. It's definitely one of the things I enjoy about this game is how expanding on the map actually affects your, can affect your population and logistics, basically. Now, we are kind of on a clock right now because they have these orbital strike centers going off, which is destroying our fleet. Slowly but surely, which means we'll be cut off from support. But thankfully they work very slowly, so we can kind of just, we can still take our time, just not too much. We're going to build a siege vehicle, a sniper squad, and then I think we need some tanks as well. Actually, no, we'll get a support vehicle so that our units can heal on the go. I think that's what we're going to do. And then we actually have another division slot on top of that one. What I am tempted to do, of course, is build... where is it? Yeah, build another life cell storage building. But on the other hand, if we get one more tech group, we can get the Flying Fortress, which is a really good air unit. That could help turn the tide, potentially. But I think we'll go with the life cell storage for now. And we're going to leave that slot open in case we need to expand again in the near future, which we will. Inevitably, of course, but... For the most part, I think we're sitting pretty. I don't know what the AI is necessarily doing or planning at the moment, but... okay, that new center is up, so now we're going to have to reinforce all of our units. Just some shift action there. And... okay, we got our siege vehicles, we got our support vehicle. So for some reason, instead of saying it as health, the game lists hit points as resistance. And a UI issue I've kind of come into is it lists, like, the health is down here. It's very small and hard to see, but when you click on the actual unit portrait, there's nowhere to see the hit points, which is kind of counterintuitive in my opinion. Interesting move by the AI, setting up a base and then not throwing up turrets. It seems almost like setting up turrets are an essential part of building a base, but maybe that's just because I play the Vectide. Like, early on, playing against other people, I have no clue how the meta would actually work. It would just depend on the kind of person playing. You know, there's a lot of room for strategies and things of that nature. And what we're going to do to kind of harass them is we're going to build a couple more outposts. First over here in this little cove, and then we're going to build one down here. We are very close to winning as well, which is probably worth mentioning. Right, we need to take out these turrets. So, right, distortion field up. And that's hopefully going to be the support that our units need. Yeah, we're taking these out very quickly. They're definitely focus firing the support vehicle though, so we're going to move that back. It's probably one of those deals where it doesn't actually heal itself, which is unfortunate, but you know, that's just the way she goes. Alright, so we are definitely making progress now. It's looking like we're going to be able to make the, you know, the final push here soonish, once we take out this outpost. Gonna wait for that unit to deploy. Okay, it's deployed, so now we're going to build. On these smaller maps, sometimes it can be actually quite difficult to get to the higher tech level, and there's sort of a trade-off of, you know, do I or do I not build more logistics or more technology? It can be difficult. And hopefully, and most of you who are into real-time strategy are probably already going to have made your decision on this by now, but I'm going to go ahead and finish up this match anyway. So we're going to call in an orbital strike in on their turrets, which is just going to take them out. I don't know why. I think on the higher difficulties, the AI will actually make more use of the powers. So the AI, I don't know if it resource hacks when it gets more difficult, as a lot of AI in games tends to do. But for the most part, even on easy, as you can see, the AI does, you know, make itself challenging, or at least, you know, interesting to deal with. They built a comms infantry squad for some reason, but we're just going to take out their HQ. And once you take out their HQ, they are basically done. You know, you lose the match when you lose that. But as you can see up here in the top, the victory counter for your fleet structure, their orbital strike unit has been going off for a while. If you get 5 of these up, that's actually it's kind of like a turtling strategy to win, I would say, is if you build a lot of those orbital strike structures and you just hold out for long enough, you win automatically that way. But blowing up all of their stuff is much more fun, of course. So I think to showcase a lot of the higher end units in this game, there are super giant mechs and super units for each faction to use as well. But just wanted to give a primer on like the gameplay and stuff in this. And hopefully that'll help you make your decision if you want to get this. If I had to make a flat, like, do I recommend this or not, I would definitely say yeah. Like, as an RTS fan, I could say that I do not regret buying this game, despite the numerous issues I've had with it. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This has been Etherium on Impressionism with darkfireslide. Leave a comment, let me know what you thought of the video, let me know if this was helpful in whether or not you wanted to buy the game. And I'll see you on the next one.